Hello and welcome to your first Friday from the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. I'm Richard Gosselin, your pub landlord for tonight. Apologies for that cliche-ridden opening to the broadcast. It is, of course, October, so we are celebrating Oktoberfest with some fantastic whisky and beer pairings. We're going to be joined shortly by Doug Rowe, who is the brewer at Tempest Brewing Company, for some really astonishing beers and whiskies. But for those of you who saw the outturn this morning, you'll see that we're also getting physical this month, and that's physical with an F-I-Z-Z. So we're celebrating society spirits in long drinks and cocktails, and we'll be getting some brilliant, easy, make-it-home cocktail suggestions from Francesco Ramalla, who is a Queen Street ambassador for the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. So nice to have you all on board this evening. Let us know where you are, what you're drinking, get your beer glasses ready as well as your whiskey glasses, and maybe even get that cocktail shaker out of the cupboard. But without any further ado, let me introduce my co-host for the evening. Who else could it be but the one and only Olaf Meyer? Olaf, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm dressed for the attire. So
I see.
Making sure. Richard, that was all the stereotypical things out of the way now for 2 minutes, and now we can go back to normal business. I mean, in terms of that was so bad.
Pretty bad. I'll say thank you to Mads for editing that together. She found every bit of cliched footage she possibly could to go with the music. I don't even know if it was authentic music. You can tell me.
I'm not sure either. But after a few beers and whiskey, it doesn't really matter anymore. You know, sort of. No, but it's great to be here. And as I say, I come from Stuttgart and not from Munich, where we have the Volksfest, which is the second largest festival in the world. Obviously, everyone knows the Oktoberfest, and that's the way they should all go to the Oktoberfest. We'll just stay in Stuttgart for our Volksfest. But I've got the right attire. I've got the right things behind me as well. I've got beer glasses ready for the beers. And I did my first Oktober Festival tasting actually in 2013 in the Waltz. I had a full house. It was absolutely wonderful. We had so much fun. Of course, this year things are all different, and but I'm sure we can make the most of it and just have a good time, because that's really what it's all about. Just having a good time.
That's exactly what it's all about, Olaf. Doing what we can. And we've certainly got some great whiskies from today's outturn to taste shortly, and some fantastic beers as well that yourself and Doug are going to lead us through. But to make up for that pretty shocking start to the live stream, I'm going to play some more music. I've got a track which it was volunteered to us by a society member. His name is Stuart Carson. For some of you who were at the Glasgow Members Room early on before lockdown, I think Stuart played one night there, just playing saxophone, and he plays in a band who obviously they can't get out and gig at the moment, but they're still showing their creativity and putting music together. And they put a little band together called Lock Dan, which is a kind of Steely Dan tribute act, which they've recorded this track by Steely Dan called Peg. So I'll just play that, and that's going to get us into a kind of more cocktail mood. So here we go. This is Lock Dan with Peg.
I've seen your picture. looks good on you. And when you smile for the camera, I know I love you better. Hey, it will come back to you. Hey, it will come back to you. Yeah, shut up, to see it all pretty. Get your favorite from me. It will come back to you. Hey, it will come back to you. Yeah, shut up, you see it all pretty. Get your favorite from me. It will come back to you. Hey, it will come back to you. Yeah, shut up, you see it all pretty. Get your favorite from me. It will come back to you. Yeah, it will come back to you. Yeah, shut up, you see it all pretty. Get your favorite from me. It will come back to you.
You like that, Olaf?
That was good. That was makes my looking at all these shirts makes my T-shirt quite conservative, doesn't it? I mean, sort of.
Well, there's a reason for the shirts, which I should explain. That is a classic example of what they call yacht rock,
Right.
right? So the kind of easy listening, very smooth,
Yep.
kind of jazzy, easy sound is known as yacht rock. So that's why they were kitted out in their best kind of yacht wear
Sounds-
Hawaiian shirt.
Looks good to me.
Yeah, so thank you very much to Stuart Carson and the gang for that, and we hope to see Stuart performing in the Glasgow Members Room again at some point, who knows when. So we're in the kind of cocktail mood. So before we get into the beers, Olaf, we've got
Yep.
our first cocktail of the night, which has been mixed up by Francesco. He is an ambassador who works at our Queen Street venue in Edinburgh. So we asked him to mix up some cocktails, which were pretty easy and anyone can make them at home, but he's just going to demonstrate a few cocktails tonight. So we pre-recorded this with Francesco. So let's tune in. He's going to mix us up a Negroni. Here we go.
Okay, hi everybody, I'm Francesco and I work here in the beautiful Queen Street. And today I'm here to show you 4 cocktails, amazing, easy to make at home. Let's start with the first one, which is an easy to make Negroni. So recipe is 25 milliliters of Campari, .25 milliliters or red vermouth martini, there we go, and I'm gonna use our amazing gin G1.4 and 25 milliliters of gin. There we go. A nice slice of orange. Top up with ice. Stir it a little bit. And a slice of orange. There we go. Negroni.
That looks pretty easy and very tasty.
Yes, I think even I could manage that one.
Even I could as well. So that's our first cocktail from Francesco, but he's got some others coming up for us, and we're just going to kind of dip into those through the course of the evening. But I think it's time to drink some whiskey and some beer. So let's introduce our guest for the evening. It is Doug Rowe. He's the head brewer at Tempest Brewing Company in the Borders, just, what is it, Tweed Bank, Doug, just outside Gallagher.
Yeah. Hi, guys.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you, Doug.
Nice to see you. Enjoyed the show so far.
Good. Just getting into the good.
I was expecting to learn a couple of things about whiskey, but obviously now I know a bit about German culture. I know about yacht rock. I can make a Negroni, so I'm laughing.
It's an information-packed show and more to come. So we did a collaboration with you guys last year, really. I think it was about a year ago. We were down to see you when we released our old-fashioned blended malt, which was a collaboration. It was aged in barrels that you had previously aged your beer in, and that was a big hit. I think I've still got a little bit of old fashioned left on the shelf, but I'm nursing it before it disappears completely. So we've done some good stuff with you before, but tonight we're just going to drink some Society whiskey that came out in today's outturn, and we're going to match it up with some of your beers from Tempest. So I'm going to let the experts, Olaf, talk about the whiskey, and Doug, you can tell us about your beers as well. So shall we just get stuck in? Olaf, what are we going to drink first?
Yeah, well, the first one we're drinking is G10.25. So it's a grain whiskey, and it's got that wonderful name called Whiskey in a Rum Glass. And people will know me. Whiskey is my first passion, but rum is my second passion. And I'll plug my own little event here, because you just had seen Queen Street. And on Thursday, I'm actually doing a live tasting, a rum tasting in Queen Street. And there's still 2 tickets left. There's 2 tickets left to be sold next Thursday. But here we are, G10.25, whiskey in a rum glass, 14 years old. Juicy oak and vanilla is the flavor profile. And it was 11 years in an ex-bourbon hoggy, and then was transferred to a second fill, toasted, heavy toasted, medium charred. And I'll just pour myself a down as well. 59.3% alcohol. So it's a
lovely, juicy in the nose, Olaf, isn't it?
Beautiful.
It's a rum character for sure.
It's the rum characters, exactly. It's from the Lowland region.
Yeah.
It's one which still operates. To be precise, it's in Glasgow, right in the heart of Glasgow.
My local distillery.
Built in 1927, and just under the Chivas brother, so Pernod Ricard owns that one. Actually, all the 3 whiskies we're having tonight are in the Chivas stable, interesting enough. So the grain as well as the 2 malts. And of course, that one mainly goes into Chivas Regal, into Ballantine's, and into Hunter Pipers. These are the 3 big brands from Chivas around the world. And if I smell that, I'm immediately sort of sent to what we have, the Spanish style rums, sort of the R8 from Nicaragua, the R9 from Panama. That's sort of a sweetness, a molasses, sort of nutmeg, cinnamon.
Yeah.
I could easily think that might be a rum. And certainly on the nose, I don't feel the strong alcohol. I mean, it's a lovely round nose.
Yeah, beautiful.
Let's give it a try.
Nice kind of burnt sugar.
Yep. Toffee apple. You get a bit of the heat now. Of course you do. But quite interesting as well. It's going more into this earthy herbal note for me a bit. Sort of more like a rum agricole, which is the French-speaking rums, which we haven't bottled yet, but like from Martinique, from Guadeloupe, they use fresh sugarcane juice rather than molasses. So therefore you get a very, very different flavor there and such. So yeah, I would certainly say that could be a matured rum agricole, as they call it in on the islands. That could easily be one of those here, but I love the nose. I mean,
Really
people
nice.
will know me. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, really nice. Yeah, getting the rum character. It's interesting what you say about the fresh juice, actually. Fresh sugar cane.
Yeah,
I think it's another great example of a single grain, which, you know, some people are a bit sniffy about grain whiskey, but when you get a single grain like this, which has been in the cask for a reasonable amount of time, it's just really, really good.
It's quite staggering because we started off with very old grains, you know, way back when we had G1, G2, and they were all sort of 30 years plus or something. And people said, oh, how can you bottle grain? I mean, but they were phenomenal. But now we're getting sort of youngish. I mean, 14 years is not young, but I mean, sort of fantastic grains as well coming through. And as you say, the price as well. I mean, how much is it? £55, I think it is on the very good value for 14-year-old grain whiskey. So should we open the beer?
Yeah, definitely. What have we got?
So I'm starting off with this beer here, Spectral Haze. So this is an IPA, 6.5%. And I guess it fits into the kind of modern and trendy character we call a New England IPA. So I think in many ways, of all the three pairings, this could arguably a bit more unconventional as a pairing and more contrasting, but there's definitely a lot of nice, interesting threads between them. The herbal character, the juiciness in the beer, going with the juicy oak, some of that sweetness going on. And I think actually a beer like this, when you pair it up with a whiskey like this, they interact with each other. It's really interesting because they are quite different. And you go back and forth. And I think you can pick out different things as you go back and forth.
I love the way
you can't drink it yet, Doug, because Olaf's got a rule. If it's a German pub night, then
yes, it's a German pub night. We have to do the Bavarian song and dance party. But I love the way, you know, it's called, what is it called? Spectral Haze. And I mean, it is haze. I mean, I sort of always have to tell people our whiskey might go a little bit cloudy when you add some water to it, but this is like the sort of London fog, or the sort of it's amazing.
Exactly. And so yeah, I mean, all these beers are a bit of a departure from what you might find on an Oktoberfest, but nonetheless.
Right. So now we're doing what is tradition in the. He can't wait. Right, go on. Now, that's very typical in the Bavarian tents. The music is playing, and when they want them to drink a little bit more, that comes up. It's the two little things, about a few seconds, and here we go. Now wait. 1, 4, 3. Super. There we go. And usually
We'll start doing that more often in the brewery.
And usually you wouldn't drink as little as that, of course, I mean, in a beer, because you would have those as well, you know, a bit more going into those.
Well, you got to remember, Olaf, this is more refined.
It would be an early night if we knocked that back.
I would look forward to a mass, which is 2 pints basically of the last beer we're going to have later on. You know, so I think.
No way. Well, that's fantastic, Doug.
So yeah, onto the beer. I mean, we've got obviously a lot of upfront fruit character, tropical elements, a bit of ripe mango, citrus, mandarin, these kind of things. But I think there's a bit more beyond that as well. You know, you've got some nice herbal, piney, resinous character, and a lot of body as well.
Yep.
So that haze we talked about is delivering a lot of protein, a lot of body in the beer, rather than just a regular IPA.
Yep.
And a nice thick white head as well, which we look for.
I've got RVDDPS saying I should tell more about Spanish and rum styles and everything. You just have to come to the tasting on Thursday, and you will know all about it.
No, it's fantastic. So
It's
how
really
does it
fruity.
feel
It's a
after
lovely
this?
fruitiness to it, sort of a tropical fruit.
Mm.
Oh, I could just sit back, relax, and just should we just call it the end of it? We just sort of just sit down and
There you go, a wee endorsement from Kai, his favourite from Tempest.
yeah,
And
I
he's
agree,
coming
Kai.
down to
I
see-
agree.
Well, we must be doing something right. Thanks, Kai.
Mm.
Lovely, wonderful stuff.
So yeah, I mean, this beer is probably been in package for maybe 1 week, and that's the real key with these beers. It's all about freshness. So for us, the challenge is to package them well and store them well, but ultimately we want to get them in people's hands really quickly. So a few weeks old, a month old, a couple months old, and hopefully no more.
Yeah. It's certainly
I
got a
think we
fresh
should go
ring
back
to
to the whiskey as well, because I found that yesterday quite interesting. When I had the whiskey, went to the beer, went back to the whiskey, it gave a completely different flavors, different profiles.
Yeah.
It's
I
wonderful.
think I'm already getting more of the kind of banana sort of character out of that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Same with me. Yep.
Mm.
Yeah. So we're still in the Caribbean, so to speak, with the bananas. Sort of that sort of
Yes, there's that nice thread between them, definitely.
passion fruit.
Yeah. And in fact, I think this whiskey's gone down a little bit smoother that time as well.
That's it. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll just add a drop of water, just see what that does to it. With my
I've got my branded glassware, you'll be happy to know.
yes.
Oh, that's out of date, Doug. We'll need to get you some up-to-date stuff.
Oh, sorry. Thanks a lot.
Richard, I haven't got any.
Well,
Richard, I haven't got one either.
I've got one roll off. That's it. The rest of them are also out of date.
But I'm doing, because in this unfiltered, there is the label development, isn't it? You're mentioning in this current unfiltered, because what I've done is, so that's the one before the new one now with the one, but then comes, that's the one. Whoops, hang on, the other way.
Yeah.
That's the one before.
Yeah.
And then, of course, at the end, my treasured one. Oops.
Well, that's gone back a while.
That's gone back a while. That's the original one. That's with the sunshine on leaf and all that. That's the
Yeah, nice.
Collector's item.
I think it would be, yeah. Not many of those around.
So that's the free I've got. So I'll need one of the new ones then, Richard. Yeah. So you can put that in there.
I've certainly find that taking the beer first and then having a drink of whiskey, it kind of enhances the whiskey more than the other way around. Is that kind of how you guys prefer to drink a beer and a whiskey?
Because obviously normally a half and a half would be, you have the whiskey and then you have the beer as a chaser. I mean, sort of as such. But I think I quite like it the other way around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is kind of logical, really, because the whiskey's the bigger drink, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm not so sure. We're thinking of your next two beers.
Oh.
Yeah, right enough.
Well, that's a great start. Shall we move on to?
Yeah. Actually, quite interesting, because that one was extra matured, double matured, finished, whatever you want to call it. I mean, sort of some people called it ACE, additional cask enhancement. But actually, Jim McEwen, I was hearing the other day talking about finishing. And I really liked that, what he mentioned there. He said, finishing is actually a completely wrong word for it, because you don't finish anything. You start something new in a new cask. So when you're re-racking, it's all about a new chapter starting for that whiskey. And actually, it's about improving and variety of flavors at the end of the day. So it's not a finishing in terms of, well, we just have to do it. So I thought that was really, for me, quite a very good description of whatever you want to call it in marketing terms, of re-racking it from one
don't
customer
talk
to another.
about finishing so much, Olaf. We talk about additional maturation.
I know, yes, exactly.
Bringing something more to the whiskey.
Exactly.
Rather
Exactly.
than saying we're trying
Exactly.
to finish it off in any way. I think
Exactly. It's quite interesting because also your two beers, the next two, we're going to have a one and then we'll have a break. They all been finished in a cask, haven't they? I mean, they
There's a question for you, Doug. From
Oh yeah, I see that first fill. So it's a combination of things. It's partly to do with our malt bill. We use a lot of flaked grains, things like torrefied wheat and flaked oats, and that's giving us a lot of body and ultimately a few more higher level of protein in the beer. So it's the proteins that are creating the haze, and then we're adding a lot of hops, so a lot of cold side, post fermentation, dry hopping. So, and what we get with that is a level of polyphenol. So you've got a sort of interaction of protein and polyphenol, and that's creating the haze. And kind of one hand helps the other in that way because the proteins will actually help carry some of these hop compounds and keep that nice, big, bright aroma. So it's always a balancing act for us to try and have a level of filtration, but and finishing on the beer, but keep some of that freshness in the beer. So that's where it comes from.
Good stuff. Okay.
Fantastic.
Olaf, what's next?
Yep, next one. We've got a lovely title, Lips Smacking and Tongue Tingling, 58.39. And we're cranking it up because this one has 62.1% alcohol, 8 years old. The beer actually as well goes up to 11.2% alcohol. So watch out. 58 is the spiritual home of Chivas Regal. As I said, it's part of the Chivas Group. It's the fourth best-selling blend in the world. About 55 million bottles are being sold all around the world of Chivas Regal. This distillery established in 1786 and probably one of the most photographed distilleries in Scotland. It's got wonderful two pagoda roofs. It's got the water wheel in front of it and the grass there. It's just wonderful. I actually had the luck just before lockdown. I was up in Speyside for 4 days, and actually I visited this distillery as well. And they've done a wonderful job of refurbishing everything, and a real good place to sit down and try the whole range of the Chivas range as well. So 8 years old, so young and sprightly, not surprising. The flavor profile, second fill bourbon barrel. And as I said already, it's a Speyside. And I'll pour myself one. I love that sound. Right. Lovely color. I don't know if you can see it.
Yep.
So it's a lovely sort of golden bright color for a second fill as well. So quite an active cask still. And Doug, you were mentioning bananas. That's the first thing I'll get on that one here now, straight away.
Sure. I think maybe it was one of the descriptors, millionaire shortbread. I love that because it's hang on.
Yeah.
That's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Reminds me
Banana
of
toffee,
banana
millionaire
bread
short.
I've been surviving on during lockdown.
Yeah.
You getting a belly, Richard?
Oh, I'm having to work at it, you know. When you're working from home, there's days that you don't even leave your four walls. So I'm having to work at it.
Richard, there is a German saying. I don't know. I tried to do it in English. Better to have a belly from drinking a beer than getting a hump by working too hard.
I will drink to that. That's lovely.
Again, lovely, smooth to nose. I mean, you can go right in. There's for me no prickle. There's no. It's got a bit of a.
Yeah, it's not harsh at all, is it?
It's not harsh at all. It's not harsh at all. Given its young age, but let's give it a try. Well, there we go. That's where it comes.
Yeah.
That tongue tingling, sort of lip smacking.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still quite nice and gentle. A gentle kind of prickle. You know, it's not,
Oh, yeah, well,
not
obviously.
overwhelming at all.
And is that to do with the young age of the whiskey?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's actually for 8 years old at what was the 62.1. That's quite high even after 8 years, because normally you would expect it to go in at 63 and a half, and then you're losing those 2% in volume and value. So it's but you would rather be at 60 or 59 rather than at that high level, 62.1. And the second fill means that the cask hasn't, obviously a first fill, we would get a lot more of the coconut vanilla coming out to balance it out. But it's still good. I mean, it's obviously, I always say it divides the boys from the men, you know, and I'm just a boy, and you two obviously are men. I mean, sort of in terms of drinking this one. It's a Jekyll and Hyde for me, because it's so soft and smooth on the nose, and then it just has a nice kick on the palate.
Yeah.
And I certainly think we should add some water. But before we do that, maybe we'll move to the beer, Doug.
Yeah, definitely. So this is quite nice, actually, because I think we're releasing this beer today. So this is All the Leaves Are Brown. It's our bourbon barrel aged imperial brown ale, and we add maple syrup. So I actually think these are a match made in heaven, because
look at that color.
Maple. It's a great combo. A lot of similarities.
Made in Heaven Hill.
In Heaven Hill, exactly.
Heaven Hill.
Because this is matured in Heaven Hill bourbon casks, Doug, right?
Heaven Hill, exactly. Exactly. So so we aged this one for about 9 months. We've just filled the load again for next year. So again, that'll get about 9 months, and that gives us just enough time balance out a kind of fresh bourbon character with some nice more kind of mature oak going on. So there's a bit of both of that, and that should come through nice in the beer. So the bourbon you got in the whiskey should certainly be in here. Some nice oak, big maple sweetness, caramel, toffee, all that stuff. So
yeah. Are you going to make us listen to this drinking?
Of course I do. Of course I do.
Yeah.
I'm losing the thread already, you see. Hang on, I'll be there.
Toast.
Swar. Dry. Super.
Wow.
So plenty to coat your mouth in there, I think.
That's a meal in a glass, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's part of the build of the beer is to leave lots and lots of body, lots of residual sugars, unfermentables in the beer, and that's part of our mashing program. And that's delivers that sweetness, but it also helps soften the barrel character a little bit. If the beer was too dry, you'd get a lot of a kind of acridness, more tannic character from the oak. So sweetness is really important there.
Yeah. It takes me back. I'm reminded of Halloween when I drink this, Doug, because we used to do this thing. I don't know if it's popular, but you would have scones dangling from a string, and they were covered in dark treacle, and you had to try and eat the scone, and someone would dangle the string, and obviously the treacle would go all over your face and all over your hair. And I'm just kind of immediately transported to the dark treacle from the scone all over my face.
Yeah, no, I was I was intrigued when I saw that pairing, Doug. I have to admit, so I've tried it yesterday because I tried the whiskey before. You know, I just have to make sure that everything's fine. You know, it's a hard job. Someone's got to do it. I mean, so I was drinking the whiskey, and I was sort of thinking to myself, actually, with this one here, with the 58, I could happily have a wheat beer with it as well. You know, sort of a fresh wheat beer out of those glasses here. You know, sort of that big glass here, big beer. And when then you came up with that really dark one, I was really intrigued, but it works perfectly well. It really
I know.
does.
I think, as you say, sometimes it's nice to have the contrast, and sometimes lots of similarities work well. So
That's it.
There's different ways of approaching it, really.
That's it.
Maybe let's have a go at this again then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I might add a drop of water.
Okay.
I know you guys just drink it neat. But
You're doing some business tonight as well, Doug. First Phil wants to know, does he just order from the website?
Indeed, yeah. I think the guys will have put it live tonight, so it's flying off the shelf actually. So you better be quick.
sounds familiar, doesn't it, Richard?
Yeah.
Actually, quite funny because I looked yesterday on your website for that beer, and it said it's out of stock. You know, it doesn't exist. So
So it's I think the magic of this beer is the seasonal release as well. You know, people, you have to make it autumnal. You know, and it's everything clicks. You know, the weather's getting shite.
Yes.
Let's hunker down and get the heating on and get one of these on. So
Yeah, it's perfect for this time of year. Like I said, it reminds me of Halloween, and it's like, yeah,
yeah,
you know, it's a very well named beer as well. All the leaves are brown. Perfect.
It makes the whiskey almost like a palate cleanser. You know, sort of when you drink the whiskey again, it sort of cuts it straight through, and then you can go back to the beer again. Sort of.
Yeah, that's true. So it was almost the opposite last time.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a lovely combination when you go from the beer to the whiskey, and you get that mix in your mouth. That's
To say your mouth is now fresh, and now you go back to the beer. You know, sort of it's your first course, second course, third course. You know, because you've got it all there in one glass of beer. And actually, I've written down when I tried it yesterday. I sort of said that's not for an early afternoon. I mean, that's more sort of later in the evening. Settle down by the open fire.
Yeah. Some people, when they come to the tap room, will steam in straight into that as their first drinks. I'd never recommend that.
No, no, I can see why.
I always recommend starting with the Helles. I can see Kai's going tomorrow, so I'm just trying to make sure he gets home in one piece, really.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. When you talk about Helles, you know, Helles, it's the German for light. I mean, sort of. There was a really lovely joke about hell, because there is an Austrian town which is spelled Fucking, and it's pronounced in German, Austrian, fucking. But they wanted to start a brewery there because they wanted to make a hell beer to call it fucking hell. I think it never happened.
You're probably giving Doug some ideas.
I could line up a collab.
Yeah, that's a brilliant pairing.
No, I love the whiskey. For me, this whiskey is brilliant, ideal, because I love the nose neat, and I love it with a drop of water on the taste.
Mm.
I really do, because it really is opening up. It's giving you a nice
spice,
sort of.
maybe?
Come again?
A bit more spice, maybe? No?
Yes, a bit more balanced for me. I mean, sort of, it's just what have you got? Victoria V's as well, sort of. So you got a bit of menthol, eucalyptus. Yeah. Perfect.
Mm. Lovely.
As I say, well done, Doug. That's a good. I would have not been brave enough to do that pairing. So,
Right. Well, guys, we've got one more whiskey and beer pairing to come, but we'll take a wee break from that just now. I think it's time to freshen our palates with another cocktail before we get to the quiz, and then we'll come back and do another whiskey and beer pairing. So here's Francesco again. He's got his second cocktail, which is an old fashioned. So nice and easy, but absolutely delicious. So I'll let Francesco tell us about his old fashioned. Here we go.
Okay, for our second cocktail, we got a classic old fashioned. So we're gonna grab out napkins, a sugar cube, some Angostura bitter. Say 5 or 6 drops are enough. Put it in a glass. Just help yourself with some soda water to dissolve the sugar in the glass. Start dissolving the sugar. When the sugar is dissolved, add 50 milliliters of whiskey. We're going to use our old-fashioned blend. 50 milliliters of whiskey. Add ice. And stir it for, I would say, at least 20 seconds. Then garnish with an orange peel. And maraschino sherry. There we go, your fashion.
Very nice. An
Yeah.
old-fashioned, using our very own old-fashioned. So ideal.
Exactly.
And nice to get some Tempest involvement in there as well. So we're going to do the pub quiz. Doug, you want to stick around and take part in the pub quiz?
I'm actually highly competitive, so yes.
Let's see how you got on. It's
No prizes, no prizes. So
Oh, pissed. I've got a bottle of whiskey here, so.
just the honor. So for anyone tuning in, you know, it's the usual format. We've got 10 questions. It's multiple choice. If you want to have a go, then you can put your answers in the comments and we'll see how you get on. So let's see. We've got it ready here. Okay. Olaf, do you want to kick off?
Yeah, I'll do that. So the first question is, what do the initials IPA stand for in a beer? Doug, you can't answer that one. I mean, that's too easy. But is it A, Indian Pale Ale? Is it B, International Product Alcohol? Is it C, Interestingly Produced Ale? Or indeed D, the Institute of Porter Alchemists?
I quite like that one.
Yeah.
I'd like to be in that.
Yeah, you too. Oh, there's one A coming in.
I think we're starting with a very easy question.
Yes.
Let's be honest, just to get warmed up.
That's it.
I don't think we're going to have too much trouble with that.
I think they got it. Yes. The A's are flooding in.
Right. Okay. Without any further ado,
That's it.
A. Any fun facts, Olaf?
Oh yes, exactly. I've got that's from you, Richard. A fun fact: the stronger, hoppier beer was ideal for making the journey to India to serve the workers of the British Empire and the East India Company.
Can you add anything to that, Doug?
No, he perfectly summed it up, actually.
Thank you.
Very good. Right. Well, this is one that should be easy for Olaf, but how long has Oktoberfest been an official event in Bavaria? You know, it's a famous event, but how long has it been an official event? 60 years, 120 years, 210, or 420? Did you know this, Olaf?
No, I didn't. Well, I would have guessed the right number, but I wouldn't have known it if you would have asked me.
Right. Okay.
I think everyone's sort of Googling right now, trying to find the answer.
Oh, Doug's going for.
Yes.
Doug's going for B. Right.
Let's see.
We've got a couple of B's coming in.
Yeah.
We've got an A. Okay.
Yeah, another B, another B. Well.
Right. Well, the correct answer is.
Oh, let's say.
Oh, hang on.
Yes, B. It's
C, 210. So it started, here's my fun fact, it started in 1810, and it was the wedding of Bavarian Crown Prince Ludwig and Princess Theresa of Saxony-Hildburghausen.
not bad. Not bad.
So they got married in 1810, and there was a big party, a big celebration, and they thought, well, that was fantastic. Let's just do it every year. And they've carried on ever since. But they've moved it slightly back in the year so that actually Oktoberfest mainly takes place in September, right, Olaf?
Yeah, that's correct.
And
Because of better weather.
Yeah, it's better weather towards like the second half of September. And then I think it ends on the first Sunday of October.
Well, it always ends on the Sunday, but that's always going to be in October. Yeah.
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 But the bulk of it is actually September.
In September.
So why don't they call it September Fest? That's my question.
Well, I've got a little bit of information on that one as well before we come to the question 3.
Right.
Because
Okay.
as you know, it was 210 years, the Oktoberfest, and it was only cancelled ever by war, which was 1 year in 1813. That's when Napoleon went over Bavaria. Then it was the First World War, and it was the Second World War. Then was also 1 year with hyperinflation back in 1923. And otherwise, it was 3 years when the cholera broke out in 1854, 1866, and 1873. So in those 210 years, a total of 17 have been cancelled.
Okay.
And obviously, this year's been cancelled as well. So we do live in extraordinary times, if you think about it.
Absolutely. Okay. Takes a lot to stop the Oktoberfest then.
That's it. That's it.
Terrible.
Terrible.
Here we go.
Doug, you want to read us out a question?
Oh, yes, I got stuck. Yeah, go on.
Question 3, yes?
Yeah, on you go.
So cask number 113.31, Push Pineapple, Shake the Tree. I'm not going to sing it. References a song from 1984 by which pop group?
Oh, someone was quick. Even before the...
Right, give us the options, Doug.
Is it A, the Cheeky Girls, B, Flock of Seagulls, C, Bucks Fizz, D, Black Lace?
Now, are you too young to remember this song, Doug?
No, I'm not. It sort of made the early school discos, and I think if anyone owns the record of this, there's something wrong with them.
Yeah. It's an absolute shocker. Do you know the tune, Olaf, or have you been...
I don't. No, I don't. No. I've never heard of Black Lace either, I'm afraid.
Well, it's clearly stuck in most people's minds. They're going for D. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what everyone goes for. Yeah. Oh, here Stephen says A.
Stephen says the Cheeky Girls. Maybe the Cheeky Girls did a cover version. I'm not sure. Yeah, it was by a group called Black Lace, 1984. And I looked into this, and the song was actually once banned by Radio 1 because it lacked credibility. So, and it was also voted the worst song of all time by the readers of Q magazine. I have to say, yeah, it pretty much is the worst song of all time.
Right.
Hopefully not the worst whiskey of all time.
Yeah, probably a few in the last 10 years to rival it.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Olaf, you want to take this one?
Yeah. Cast number 59.62, The Perfect Catch, was additionally matured in a first fill Sauterne barrique. Which wine region is Sauterne part of? Is it A, Bordeaux? Is it B, Burgundy? C, the Loire Valley? Or D, Alsace? Again, not that easy, I find.
Not that easy.
No.
Well, depends how much you know your wines.
Well, obviously I don't.
Yeah.
I would be between two. I couldn't make up my mind.
Yeah.
Is there a 50-50?
Phone a friend. Here comes in.
Off the mark
This
with
is C,
C.
Loire Valley. Douglas Bell says the Bordeaux. Yeah. Another list says Bordeaux. Harry says Alsace.
Can you tell us anything about Sauterne, Olaf?
Oh, lovely sweet wine. Lovely sweet dessert wine. Beautiful. Yeah. Chateau de Chem, maybe the one which is the most well-known vineyard there and the chateau. But yeah, beautiful. And certainly giving whiskey a really additional maturation, really something different, a new chapter, as I mentioned earlier on.
Absolutely. Okay. So the answer is, people are all over the place with this.
Yes, they are. They are. Well, it's Bordeaux. It's Bordeaux. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it's Bordeaux or Burgundy, I must say. That's the sort of thing which I wasn't quite sure. So the fun fact on there is that notes for its flavor, the notes are apricots, honey, peaches, and it also develops that noble rot, which is well known for it because that makes then the grapes very, very tiny, full of sugar. And that then creates that wonderful dessert wine called Sauterne.
Yeah, we spoke about this in the last pub session, that noble rot botrytis, and it's
Yes.
a fungus, isn't it, which kind of infects the grapes, but it imparts this sweetness, which is very particular to these areas. And so,
like in Germany, you would call it ice wine. That's the same sort of idea. It's when the grapes get the first frost, and then they shrivel together, get that noble rot, and then you get the ice wine.
And the Tokai wine in Hungary.
Hungary, same idea. Yep.
And how long is the maturation time for that?
From the wine.
In the barrique.
Oh, right. I'm not. I mean, usually we're doing 1 to 2 years, Doug. That's our normal maturation, sort of. Very rarely less than 1 year. Sometimes a little bit more than 2. Like the grain whiskey, for example, was longer in the cask, but most of them are between 1 and 2 years.
Yeah, but it's certainly enough because you really get those kind of sweet honeyed notes coming through in the whiskey. So well worth looking out for. Okay. So question 5, I'll take this one. In this month's Unfiltered, which landed today online, we talked to a professor of zymology. What is zymology? So is it the technical name for bread making? Is it the study of sulfur? Is it the analysis of a wood's properties? Or is it the science of fermentation? So that's quite a tricky one, I think. Well, tricky for me.
Well, I would have not had the answer. Nope.
Doug, you know this one?
I might do.
think you'd be in with a shout.
Well, there's the first coming in with a D.
It might be printed on a mug I've got.
No one else. No one else. Come on, give it a go.
Are they all stumped?
Yes, they're all. Another D.
Douglas is going for D.
Liz going for D as well. I think D sort of either they trust RVD DDPS so much because he was the first with D. Everyone else comes in with D.
I think I've showed my hand a bit too much here, actually.
So yeah, the correct answer is zymology is the science of fermentation. And yeah, we've got an interesting piece in the New Unfiltered about the use of different strains of yeast and how a lot of distillers and certainly some of the new distilleries are exploring flavor creation through different strains of yeast that and different lengths of fermentation. So quite a big move within the whiskey making.
Yeah, I've heard a bit of that from friends of mine, getting ester formation in the fermentation, trying to ultimately achieve different compounds through that. So definitely something in it.
Some very interesting stuff going on. And fun fact, French chemist Louis Pasteur was recognized as the first zymologist, and that was in 1857 when he connected yeast to fermentation for the first time. Do you get anything to add to that, Olaf?
Oh yes, I can't leave a Frenchman out of glory. I mean, sort of because a Bavarian, of course, it has to be a Bavarian scientist in 1873. Oh, I wonder if Doug knows that. In 1873, his name was Carl Paul Friedrich Linde, and he has invented the refrigerator.
How do you spell that? Is it
Linde? Linde.
It's just because the sort of number one brand of mobile chilling units for draft in brewing is LINDR. So it's the Linder.
LINDE it is.
Yeah, so I wonder if they've named the company.
It is the company's name. It is the company's name. It's a big company in Germany doing all sorts of things. But he started off with refrigerator. And also what's quite interesting, the client for his first refrigeration was the Spaten Brewery in Munich. So it was a brewery which was looking for finding a way to refrigerate the beer. And the Spaten Brewery is one of the big 6 big brands in Munich. And there we go.
Always trying to take credit for Germany, Olaf.
I know. Olaf, this is Oktoberfest, isn't it?
not as influential as Louis Pasteur, though. So,
thanks, Doug.
Yeah, good try. Okay. Olaf, do you want to take this one?
Right, I'll do that one. Right. So the cask number 2.117, Cheerful Enjoyment, references Peach Melba Sunday in its tasting notes. Which famous chef invented Peach Melba? Was it Marie-Antoine Carême? Was it Auguste Escoffier? Fanny Cradock? Or Raymond Blanc? Or Raymond Blanc, I should say.
I'm glad you had to read that one out and not me.
Showing my continental knowledge here, don't I? Every French person obviously turned in their grave. Right, we got 1B.
Liz is quick off the mark.
This is quick off the mark.
Escoffier.
Yeah, Escoffier.
Do you like a peach Melba?
Peach Melba?
don't mind it.
The last time I had a peach Melba. It's been a long time.
Harry.
It's a bit before my time.
It feels like a kind of 70s dessert, doesn't it?
Something, yeah.
You see, I know peach Melba, but I didn't know the black lace. You see, so
We've got a few different guesses.
yeah,
Right.
we've got A's and B's, but mainly B's. So that's what it is. Yep. And the fun fact is that this famous French chef created it in the 1890s to honor the Australian soprano singer Nellie Melba, because she was actually staying in the Savoy Hotel in London whilst performing Wagner's Lohengrin at Covent Garden. And whenever she came back, that's what she got served: peaches resting on a bed of vanilla ice cream topped with spun sugar. So again, you've got an Australian and you've got good old Wagner from Germany, Lohengrin.
Rich, did you hear about the French chef that was suicidal?
No, there you go.
He lost the will to live.
Good.
We should just move on.
Yeah.
Hey, come on.
It can only get worse.
Right, you take this one, Doug.
Yeah, come on.
Who said of the Negroni cocktail, the bitters are excellent for your liver, the gin is bad for you? They balance each other. Was it A, Oscar Wilde, B, Orson Welles, C, Dorothy Parker, D, Ernest Hemingway?
That's a tricky one.
I've got an idea.
Who do you think?
I would have said something, but it would have been wrong.
Who do you think it is, Doug?
I've got a suspicion it might be A.
It sounds like the kind of thing Oscar Wilde might have said. It's witty enough, you know? Or maybe
There is an A coming in as well. There's a few.
Was it maybe Hemingway?
Yeah, that's what I thought, but it's not.
Well, you know, a famously big drinker. You'd think he might have come out with something like that. Don't know if Negroni was his thing, though.
It's just a bit of a red herring, this one.
What's that, Doug?
It's a bit of a red herring, this one, isn't it?
Yeah, it could be. Let's see. Oh, we're all over the place with our
Yep.
answers. Okay.
Yeah.
So the correct answer is
Oh.
Orson Welles.
I'll just throw in a question, which is not official off the pub question, but if someone just types it in, the first one sort of, it's not true, but there's a quote supposedly, someone saying, I should have never switched from Scotch to Martini. I should have never switched from Scotch to Martini. Who said that?
James Bond?
No.
Good guess.
Come on, type it.
No.
Famous actor.
Or I'm thinking of
As I say, it's been said he said it, but
Dean Martin.
no.
Brando? Pass.
Sinatra.
No one's giving it a go? No. Humphrey Bogart.
Okay. Very good. Well, apparently Orson Welles was shooting the movie Cagliostro in Rome in 1947, where he had a Negroni, which was invented in Florence in 1919 by Count Camillo Negroni. And as you saw from Francesco's demonstration, it's a very easy but delicious cocktail: gin, vermouth, and Campari. And that's you.
And did they give a type of vermouth? Because I know there's a few different, it's quite a broad spectrum of vermouth.
Yeah, I don't know what he saw. I'll take a look at that.
Some of them are quite medicinal, and others,
Yeah, you're right.
Right. Olaf, you want to take this one?
I'll do that. So, cast number 112.67, Raising Cain, references the 1992 psychological horror film Raising Cain. Who directed the movie? Martin Scorsese, James Cameron,
Absolutely.
John Hughes, Brian De Palma.
Right. Well, someone in the tasting panel must be a fan, but I don't know who it is.
Not me. And I'm not a fan of horror thrillers either. So
Well, I've not seen it, so I can't.
I can't tell.
I can't.
No,
tell.
I've not seen it
There
either.
comes in a D comes in. Yeah, from Doug.
But it sounds like a good whiskey.
Formula Antica. Yeah, that's a good vermouth. What Kai says here, Formula Antica. That's
Okay.
that's a good remove.
Okay, I'll check that out.
Yeah.
A from Liz. Well, another guess. B. James Cameron.
Right. So the
Right.
answer is Olaf.
The answer is Brian De Palma.
Brian De Palma.
And apparently, he's did lots of films, including Scarface, Carrie, the Untouchables. Oh, I know that one. Carlitos Way, and the list just goes on and on and on.
Yeah. A great director of the
The Untouchables. That's
in the 80s, I suppose. I
Yeah.
don't know if he's done anything recently, but it's I mean, what a list of classic films.
Yeah.
The fact that he's got Scarface to his credit is, that's fantastic. Right. Doug, over to you.
Okay, cask number 51.18. There's something about Enya is a new bottle from across the Irish Sea and name checks a famous Irish singer-songwriter. What year was her big hit Orinoco Flow?
You remember that one?
I'll do.
I was thinking the film reference was a bit more present to me. I'm not sure about the song actually.
So what year was it?
Oh, sorry, I'm losing the plot here. Is it A, 1978, B, 1986, C, 1988, or D, 1992?
Now I've got that song in my head and I'm probably not going to be able to get it out of my head. Do you not remember it? It was that kind of new age, very kind of ethereal, lots of strings and all that stuff. No?
If I played it, I would recognize it.
Yeah, I'm sure you would. It's been used like in countless movies, and it's one of those ones where it just gets into your head and it's hard to shake it off. Do you remember it, Olaf?
I do remember the song. Yeah. Yep.
You know that one?
Yep.
Right. What have we got here?
I wouldn't have known the year.
Yeah, that's quite a tricky one.
B. Yeah, I mean it's hard. That's hard. It's very hard. Very hard today. 1988.
88.
So C. Yeah, no, let's go right.
Well, that's why I don't remember it, because it was the year I was born.
There you go.
It's been played ever since.
You might have heard it in the room then.
Yeah, that might have been playing in the hospital.
Yeah, I might have been conceived to that song. You never know.
Yeah.
Do we know anything about the Orinoco?
It's a river in South America.
Yeah.
Mostly in Venezuela and in Colombia. Sort of very similar to the Demerara, which we know of the Demerara rums as well, which again is a river which is going through Guyana.
Correct. Extra points to Olaf.
Thank you.
Right. So, last question. You'll be glad to know.
That's for you. You just got you. That's for you, Richard.
The name of cast number 77.65, Pure Dead Brilliant, might confuse some non-Scots, but it actually means the absolute best. Which actor used Pure Dead Brilliant as a catchphrase? Right. So was it A, Ricky Fulton, B, Stanley Baxter, C, Elaine C. Smith, or D, Karen Dunbar? Anyone?
Yeah, I'm not 100% on this. I know my mum would kill me if I got it wrong.
It seemed to be it was quite popular for a while.
Let's C.
C from
C. Two C's so far.
Oh yeah, of course, because we used to watch that, and I was a bit too young for it. It was a bit inappropriate.
Yeah, it had its moments, didn't it? Yeah. So the answer is C, Elaine C. Smith. But I can't remember exactly what program it was. I think it was,
Ramsey Nesbitt.
Was it Ramsey Nesbitt? She
I
used
think it must have been.
Yeah. And also, it was adopted as the kind of slogan for Prestwick Airport. It's kind of
That's
hard
right.
an airport would adopt a slogan like that, but it was the official slogan for Prestwick Airport until it was.
And not another claim to fame for Prestwick Airport.
What's that?
Did Elvis Presley not fly into Prestwick Airport?
Correct. It was the only time he set foot on British soil, wasn't it?
And if you talk about Elvis Presley, he was serving in the American Army in Germany. So just another fun fact.
Yeah, and it was just on a transfer between a layover, not even a layover. I think it was like changing planes, and he got off the plane at Prestwick, and it was the only time he set foot on British.
So he obviously thinks the UK is a shithole.
Really desperate to get away.
No, I would say it's pure dead brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah,
I don't know if Prestwick Airport is pure.
no, it definitely isn't.
No.
Never been there.
Right, very good. Well done to everyone.
Yeah.
Quite a tricky quiz tonight.
That was a hard one.
It was. But, think about how much you've learnt just from the course of 10 questions. You can now identify where Sauterne is. You can talk about zymologists. Brian De Palma's film catalogue. It's all there.
It's all habits. Yeah.
Right, good stuff. Okay, we're going to come back and do another beer and whiskey pairing. But before we do that, let's catch up with Francesco. He has got another cocktail for us, and this is, it's only gin and juice, but I like it. So here's Francesco.
Okay. And as a third cocktail, we got a lovely, fresh, and easy to drink highball. And as I have to call it, is only gin and juice, but I like it. And you might need a shaker. Add ice in the shaker, first of all. We're gonna use 35 milliliters of Eden Flowers cordial. There we go. Fifty milliliters of gin. There we go. 150 milliliters of fresh grapefruit juice. And final touch, a couple of leaves of fresh basil. There we go. Shake it for 8 seconds. There we go. Dirty pour in the glass. And garnish with some dehydrated grapefruit and basil. There we go. It's only gin and juice, but I like it.
Very nice, Francesco. It's only gin and juice, but I like it.
Yeah, that's good.
That's good. Okay. Let's drink more whiskey and beer.
Sounds good.
What have we got next, Olaf?
We got a kiln full of kippers. That's the 108.26. 7 years old and lightly peated. Dare I say, I think now we're passing the point of no return, because this one here, this lovely 7-year-old whiskey, has alcohol of 64.8%. 64.8. If you think that's a lot for whiskey, well, wait until we get the beer, because that has 13.2% alcohol. So after I've tried those all last night, I slept very well after that. I mean, sort of, and it's a stunning combination. Wonderful. So 102.26, so the 108th distillery, which we have bottled. And I'm glad I don't have to mention the name because I probably would pronounce it wrong. But I don't have to, but I can tell you it translates into the burn of milk. That's what it's in Gaelic. At the foot of Benrinnes. So when you drive from Dufton to Tomintoul, you see it on the right-hand side. It was built in 1975, so a very, very young distillery. And I believe it's the first distillery which was actually designed to be only operated by one person at the time in 1975. If again we're in the Chivas stable, if the first one we had, the first malt whiskey, i.e. the second, was the most photographed one, I think this one is probably the least photographed one because it's not very pretty. It's just a block of stone sort of just sitting there. No one knew about it. I think probably most people never heard of it. It was only until in 2018, at the end of 2018, so now 2 years ago, that they came out with a non-age statement whiskey, malt whiskey for that. And they called the slogan was just enough peat to start a fire. Just enough peat. So it's a peated Speyside whiskey you've got in your hands. About 10 to 20 ppms, if you want those numbers. And that goes mainly into the blend, which I already mentioned, 100 Pipers. 100 Pipers. You might never heard of 100 Pipers. I can tell you one thing. It's a very popular blend in the United States, in Thailand, and in India. And again, a useless fact. In India, for the first time in 2018, that was the first blended Scotch which crossed 1 million cases sold in a year. So that's 12 million bottles. That's the 100 Pipers. So therefore, they need a lot of this stuff to be produced. And actually, the distillery produces about 4.2 million liters of alcohol right now. So plenty here. Lightly peated flavor, as you would expect. Just enough peat to start the fire. A very light color. It's a second fill bourbon barrel again. And 7 years old. A lovely, sweet, smoky note for me. That I love that. I mean, we got apple.
It doesn't smell that lightly peated to me, Olaf. I mean,
Yeah, for me, it's very deep and rich, applewood kind of character.
Yeah.
And I love that you can celebrate something in a drink that essentially smells of fish and smoked fish. I love that. I think that's great. Very, it is very savoury. It's almost like in the umami spectrum, isn't it?
It is. You're right. And I love the way as I'm writing my self-tasting notes, and I know how hard it can be, but I had to smile on that one because it then says, chimney sweep, broom flicked, a puff of soot, and then settled onto fresh mussels. But the mussels were spelled M-U-S-C-L-E-S. So I know what it is, but it certainly is muscly when you try it. But so we'll give it a go. Scotch oak. I'm loving this. It's
lovely
that
sweetness to it.
Exactly. That peat meets sweet, so to speak. I mean, sort of it's like I love those Islay casks as well, sort of from the south coast, for example, when they're in sherry casks, because you get again that sweetness to it, which I know a lot of people don't like because they rather have the peat hit. But I mean, as you rightly say, I think this is more peated than lightly peated, actually. I mean, in terms of. But
is there maybe something quite sort of fresh and coastal about it almost as well for me?
It is. Yeah. It couldn't be probably further away from the coast, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Well, mind you, God knows where the cask's ending up, of course, because they're not stored on site. Of course, I mean they're just tankered away.
I think I need a wee splash of water in mine, Olaf.
Here we go. Finally, I'll get you there. Well, talking of not adding splash of water, should we get that beast of a beer, Doug?
Yes, and I hope we can get it open because it's a wax top. Have you got the orange one?
Wisely, I'm going to take the smallest beer glass I'm having for this one. I mean, this goes in like oil. It's just
Yeah. So this is a beer I made. Hey, away you go. With a brewery called Pohjola. So they're from Tallinn in Estonia, the capital. And they're really fantastic producers of this type of beer, barrel-aged imperial beer. So I went out there and made that in January. And that's kind of my last vestige of normality before the world kind of went mad.
Yeah.
Because everything seemed okay back then. So I've been barrel aging it since then. So it's been kind of 6 months in barrel. Which for us is on the kind of shorter sort of end of the spectrum for barrel aging. So it's a bit lighter and fresher in many ways. Even though it's a big beer, it kind of conveys a little bit more sprightly and fresh whiskey notes for me, and a little bit of whiskey hum. Got some really nice malt sweetness. You got caramel and fruit cake and marzipan. And it's also features some local honey from Estonia, so some kind of heather honey. So there's a little bit of that honey twang in there. So it's a beautiful beer, and I think it fits this whiskey quite well.
I think we'll do for the last time. We'll do the German.
Okay, here we go.
Here we go. Eins, zwei, drei. Super. I'm loving this one.
Yeah.
Wow. I think the cat wants some as well, Doug.
He's loving it.
It's got a little bit of a smoke as well, hasn't it? Got sort of a
Yeah, a little bit of smoke finish and lots of sweetness, lots of residual sweetness. It's kind of a beer with a long boil. So what we're doing is we're caramelizing the wort for a long time.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets the ABV as well. So we're just evaporating all the water off, intensifying all the sugar, and that comes through quite nicely, I think.
Yep.
And it makes it perfect for a whiskey barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it right? You're saying it's Glengirian Auchentoshan? Is that the cast using?
Yeah.
Right. I'll add some water to my PT Speyside.
I mean, it's 13.2%, Doug. How do you? I mean, your beers obviously are some of them are very high ABV. How do you recommend people drink them? Because I mean, to be honest, I like a pint of beer, but there's no way you could sit down and drink a pint of this. It's
no. I mean, first of all, most of these types of beers, I would say, get them up to 10 or 12 degrees. Don't keep them in the fridge, because you want to let them open up and get all those flavors, and treat it like you're drinking port or something like that. So take a bottle like this, and maybe I would normally have that with someone,
Yes.
and really enjoy it and think about it. And
Yes.
that's why I like drinking them in a big glass like this, because it's it's not smashing beer, it's not IPA or lager or anything like
Yes.
that.
Yep.
I think that's the thing. It's a different way of approaching.
They have their place, and this has its place for me. It's definitely, yeah, treat it like an after dinner drink almost.
Yeah. Like a peaty whiskey as well, in a way. I mean, sort of, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I said the one before, you're sitting at the fire, but this is almost sort of the nightcap, sort of the last drink, the last beer and the last whiskey, sort of and then you think I'm going to bed, but 2 hours later, you're still sitting together and talking. And then.
No, that's never happened to me.
No, wouldn't, would it? Never happened to me either. When you add some water to it, actually, there's more sort of a saltiness coming out as well, which was your sort of coastal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Salted licorice.
Mm.
And with water, far too easy to drink. Just beautiful.
But again, that combination, when you go from the beer to the whiskey, that blend of flavors.
That's it. It's phenomenal.
It does enhance the whiskey for me when you've got a really robust beer like that.
Yep.
It's a great combination.
Yeah, I think so. I think the beer stands up to it, definitely, and not a lot of beers would.
No.
And then I'm getting a bit more fruitcake going back to the beer, I think, a bit different things are highlighted.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's just a brilliant combination.
Sort of even like a slightly burnt sticky toffee pudding or something, on the beer.
Yeah. Well, maybe you could get a case of this behind your bar, actually, Rich. That'd be good.
Yeah.
Well, just speak to Kai. Just speak to Kai. He's in tomorrow.
Yeah. I think it would go down a treat.
But any other kind of tips, Doug, for beer and whiskey pairings from what you've done, or anything?
Well, I mean, you've seen it tonight. Really, it is subjective, and it's about I don't. For me, all those three beers have had a bit of something about them. Even the IPA not being as strong as the others, it still had a lot going on. So I think there has to be a bit going on and really picking out those flavors that you can tie threads between, whether it's palate cleansing one way or the other. Come on, you. But yeah, I mean, it's something that's got the kind of bollocks really to stand up to the whiskey. And understanding the little highlights from the different drinks that can help each other along.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, for me, just like having the three different beers and three whiskeys, it's kind of made me realize there's a lot to explore here. But it's such a good combination.
And the other thing as well is this is obviously quite a social thing, and if you're doing this with the pals, someone's going to be more in the know about beer, and someone's going to be in the more in the know about whiskey, and that helps in a big way as well.
Yeah,
yeah, it just brings a different element to the tasting.
Yeah, but as you say, Doug, it's just like sort of matching food with whiskey or food with beer as well. There is so many ways you can do it. I mean, sort of in terms of, which makes it that fascinating.
Yeah.
Things you would never think going to work in a million years, but all of a sudden it just works. It just clicks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Fantastic beers, fantastic pairings, Doug.
Yeah, great whiskies.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed them.
Well, listen, Doug, thank you so much for coming into the pub session tonight and sharing the beers.
The beer. Got two hands,
Yeah.
No,
glad to see you. Hopefully see you in Edinburgh or down in the border sometime before too
Absolutely,
long.
yeah. Thanks very much.
All the best.
Doug. All
Cheers.
the best.
Cheers. Slange.
Right, fantastic. Okay, Olaf, we're nearing the end, but we've got another cocktail. We've got one more cocktail from Francesco. With a margarita. So let's tune into that.
Okay, as the last cocktail we got twist of a margarita. It's called Fernando Margarita. And first of all, you're gonna grab a rock glass, like a nice salted rib, and you're on one side of the glass. remove the inside of the glass. There we go. Add ice in the glass. There we go. So, shaker again. And we go with 30 milliliters of fresh lime juice. Milliliters of 15 milliliters of agave nectar. And 50 milliliters of tequila. There we go. Good. Ice in the shaker. There we go. Double strain. There we go. Garnish with a dehydrated lime. There we go. Fernando Margarita.
Great stuff. That was our last cocktail from Francesco. So that's us, Olaf. Time to wrap up. Last order
Right.
in the virtual pub. We're still
Right.
within curfew time. What
Let's
do you
put
got
my
for
hat
us?
on. There we go. Or put my heart on as well, you know. Put my heart. Grüß aus München. Greetings from Munich. True Oktoberfest.
Fantastic.
So there we are. That's me, you know. And Charles de Gaulle once said, "How can anyone govern a nation that has 246 different kind of cheeses?" Well, I'll better that with Germany, because we in Germany have the beer purity law, which means you can only have water, malt, hops, and yeast in the beer in Germany. And that purity law is from 1516. But how can you govern a nation which actually still produces over 6,000 different kind of beers with that purity law? I'll drink to that.
I'll drink
Close.
to that as well. Here's Olaf. Thank you so much for your company and your knowledge tonight and your enthusiasm.
Oh, enjoyed it.
Great to see you, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
So thanks
Wish-
very much.
Everyone all the very best. Just keep
Cheers,
smiling.
Olaf.
Yep.
Brilliant. Okay. Right, that's it. We are going to wrap up. Big thanks to Olaf again, to Doug for joining us from Tempest Brewing, for Francesco for mixing up our cocktails, from Stuart Carson and his musical gang for the Lockdown Steely Dan video, Mads for editing her cheesy Oktoberfest video, and Rennie for doing the cocktail videos with Francesco, and a brilliant job. New issue of Unfiltered online today. Lots of great stuff in there. So dive in to your digital Unfiltered, now coming to you every month. Lots of great stories in there. So take a look. And that's it. You know, we've got more tastings and lots of stuff going on at the society. You know, so stay tuned. Keep an eye on social media for what's happening, and all the best. And let me just play you out with our little animation. Good night. Cheers.